Have you ever felt a cold dread so complete it freezes the air in your lungs? I'm standing here on the corner of North Michigan Avenue in Chicago, the winter wind whipping off the lake and biting at my cheeks, but I don't feel it. All I feel is the vibration of my phone in my hand, displaying a picture that has shattered my world into a million tiny jagged pieces. It's a photo of my wife Sarah, her head thrown back in laughter, her hand intimately resting on another man's arm. They're seated at a corner table in the RL restaurant, the one right off Chicago Avenue, the same place I took her for our 5th anniversary. And the person who sent me this picture, I have no idea who they are. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. For 10 years, Sarah was my entire world. We built a life together in a cozy brownstone in Lincoln Park. I thought we were happy. I really did. But over the last few months, a distance had grown between us, a subtle chill that I couldn't quite put my finger on. Late nights at her marketing firm became more frequent. Her phone was always face down on the nightstand, and the easy laughter we once shared was replaced by a tense, polite silence. I tried to talk to her to bridge the gap, but she'd just brush it off. "Work is just stressful, babe," she'd say, her eyes not quite meeting mine. She made me feel like I was the one being needy, the one imagining things. She was so good at it, so convincing that I started to believe her. I started to think I was the problem. Then came the anonymous text. That single, grainy photo. My first instinct was denial, a desperate search for a rational explanation. Maybe it was an old photo, or maybe it was a client meeting. But my gut, a tight, painful knot in my stomach, told me otherwise. The breakdown came later that night, alone in my home office. The weight of her betrayal, the humiliation, the sheer cruelty of it all, came crashing down on me. I saw our entire life together as a lie, and I crumbled. But as I sat there, surrounded by photos of a smiling, happy couple that no longer existed, something inside me shifted. The grief and the pain began to harden, crystallizing into something cold and sharp, a desire for revenge. I started digging. I became a ghost in my own home, observing, listening, and documenting. I installed recovery software on our shared computer and found deleted emails. They were sickeningly sweet, filled with pet names and plans for secret getaways. The man's name was Mark, a high-powered executive at a rival firm. They met at a conference 6 months ago. The emails detailed everything: their first meeting at the Langham Hotel, their lunches at the Gage, their shared contempt for me, the boring, predictable husband. They mocked my job as a high school history teacher, my simple routines, my love for her. They felt untouchable, wrapped in their arrogant little bubble of deceit. The worst part was having to pretend. Every day was a performance. I'd kiss her goodbye in the morning, my stomach churning with acid. I'd listen to her talk about her stressful day at work, knowing she'd spent her lunch hour with him. She became bolder, colder. She'd criticize me openly, finding fault in everything I did, manufacturing arguments to justify her distance, to justify what she was doing. She was laying the groundwork to leave me, to paint me as the villain in her story. But I had my own story to write. I knew I needed a lawyer, a shark. I found one online, a woman with a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in divorce court. Her name was Jessica Albright. Our first meeting was in her sleek office overlooking the Chicago River. I laid out everything I had: the printed emails, the text messages, the timeline of Sarah's lies. Jessica listened intently, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "We're not just going to divorce her, we're going to dismantle her." A cold sense of relief washed over me. For the first time in months, I wasn't alone. As we prepared the case, Jessica asked for details about the other man. Mark. I gave her his full name and the company he worked for. She typed it into her computer, and then she froze. A strange, unreadable emotion flickered across her face before she masked it. "This is interesting," she said softly. "Don't worry about Mark. I'll handle him." I didn't understand her reaction at the time, but I trusted her. That was my first mistake. No, that was my greatest stroke of luck. The plan was simple and brutal. We would serve Sarah with the divorce papers at her company's annual awards gala, a huge public event where she was set to receive a major promotion. We timed it perfectly. The process server walked on stage right as her CEO was calling her name. The murmurs in the crowd turned into a deafening silence as she was handed the thick legal envelope. In it was all the proof of her affair, printed for the world to see, along with a petition for divorce, citing adultery. Her face went from triumphant joy to ashen horror in a split second. Her career, her reputation, vaporized in front of her entire industry. But that was just the beginning. The real masterstroke was Jessica's. When Sarah and her lawyer finally sat across from us in the conference room, Sarah was still defiant, arrogant. She looked at me with pure hatred. Then, Jessica calmly slid a file across the table. It was a second divorce petition. Sarah's lawyer opened it. His eyes widened, and he looked at his client, then back at the file, then at the man sitting next to her. Because sitting right there, looking pale and terrified, was Mark, and the petition was from his wife. His wife, Jessica Albright. The silence in that room was absolute. Sarah's face was a mask of utter disbelief and dawning terror. She looked from Jessica, the powerful lawyer she had unknowingly been fighting, to Mark, her lover, whose entire life was also imploding, and then to me. She finally understood. She wasn't just caught in a lie. She was caught in a perfectly constructed trap, set by the two people she and Mark had betrayed the most. She lost everything. Her job, her friends, her reputation. Mark lost his family and a fortune in the settlement. They were ruined, completely and utterly. Now, my house is quiet. Pictures of us are gone. Sometimes I walk through the empty rooms and I feel nothing at all. The end.